Healthy relationships are an important part of addiction recovery because they can support a person's efforts in achieving and maintaining abstinence, help them stick with an aftercare treatment program, and exert an overall positive social influence. In fact, individuals in recovery report that receiving help from supportive people is the most important factor in their personal recovery journey. A healthy relationship can also provide monitoring and feedback that may discourage unhealthy behaviors and encourage behaviors that are conducive to a person's health. Additional benefits of healthy relationships in recovery can include reduced stress, an improved sense of purpose, and better personal control, all of which can encourage healthy habits, relapse reduction, and improve mental and physical health. Healthy relationships can also help an individual stay in recovery. There was one study that found that individuals who participated in a social recovery network displayed higher rates of abstinence than those who just sought professional help. Therefore, it can be beneficial to seek out healthy relationships in recovery. Some of the characteristics of a healthy relationship includes mutual respect, trust, honesty, support for individuality, open and honest communication, anger management, fighting fair, the ability to solve problems together, an understanding of each other's feelings, and self-confidence. Building healthy relationships doesn't always come easy. There are, however, steps you can take to help foster positive, supportive relationships in recovery. And that includes things like taking responsibility for your actions and apologizing for past wrongs, seeking relationships that involve honesty and avoiding lying or cheating, developing healthy boundaries, which include things like being assertive about your needs, saying no to people, behaviors, or things that don't serve you in recovery, disengaging from or limiting contact with people who don't respect your sobriety, being honest and open about your feelings with people you trust, respecting the feelings and wishes of others and asking for the same in return, learning to compromise, fighting fair, and taking a break when things get heated instead of blowing up or exchanging insults. Entering individual, couples, or family therapy to help you or your family work on underlying issues and repairing past damage. And lastly, of course, participating in mutual help groups like NA or AA. So, have you found yourself feeling sad or anxious because you are lacking a supportive social network? Do you want to deepen your present relationships, but you don't know where to start? Or maybe you've even thought you could benefit from developing new social contacts or social outlets, but you're afraid you'll be rejected or neglected based on your past experiences. There's no doubt that we thrive when we have reciprocal, emotionally supportive relationships. The American Psychological Association's 2022 Stress in America report found that emotional support is linked to lower rates of anxiety, depression, and loneliness, and higher rates of well-being. So you might be wondering, what exactly is a supportive relationship? So essentially, supportive relationships are relationships that meet our emotional needs for attention, affection, care, and support. So a few examples of the hallmarks of a supportive relationship include feeling respected, not feeling judged, providing reassurance and understanding, and unconditional affection and care. So, in a nutshell, supportive relationships create within us feelings of renewal, positive energy, and a sense of aliveness. Conversely, emotionally neglectful relationships are linked to higher rates of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and physical illness. Emotional neglect is a consistent pattern of behaviors and attitudes that fail to meet another's need for attention, affection, care, and support. Emotional neglect can occur in a variety of relationships, such as parent child relationships, friendships, professional relationships, and even intimate partnerships. Emotional neglect can be more difficult to detect since it encompasses failures to act versus overt neglectful actions, such as criticizing or yelling at a partner, friend, or family member. Not everyone is consciously aware that they are neglecting their partner's, families, friends, or colleagues' needs. And for many, their neglectful tendencies and behaviors were something they themselves experienced as a child, making it a cyclical and transgenerational way of relating to others. Examples of emotional neglect include consistently ignoring another's emotional needs, dismissing and ignoring their feelings, failing to provide comfort during distressing situations, and not expressing affection or positive reinforcement. In adult relationships, emotional neglect can manifest as an absence of communication, indifference towards a partner's emotional well being, and consistently disregarding their feelings and concerns. In friendships, emotional neglect can include unresponsiveness or availability when a friend is going through a difficult time. Emotional neglect can have both long term and short term effects. Short term effects of emotional abuse include confusion, shame, muscle aches and pain, and moodiness. Long term effects of emotional neglect include symptoms like social withdrawal, loneliness, anxiety, depression, guilt, and insomnia. As with most things psychological, healthy behaviors and attitudes start with first learning how to take care of our own emotional needs. So, for example, it's impossible to provide for another their emotional need for affection when we aren't able to meet our own needs for affection. In this field, we often hear people being overly concerned about and focused on others' needs while completely neglecting their own. But it's not all bad news. With work and effort, relationships can get better, stronger, more gratifying, and more supportive. So, here are just a few suggestions for transforming your relationships. So, first and foremost, active listening. One of the hallmarks of a supportive relationship is the desire to truly understand another person, especially when they are going through a difficult time or transition. When we are engaged in actively listening to our friends, family, or coworkers, we are communicating to them that they matter to us and we care about them. Secondly, open communication. So things like grudges, neglect, and misunderstandings arise when hurt feelings are not openly communicated and discussed. No one is capable of reading another person's mind. So open communication is a crucial ingredient for creating supportive networks. And then third, reliability. Consistency is the benchmark for cultivating secure relationships. Knowing that we can depend on the support of our social networks during our highs and lows is the glue that binds supportive relationships. In talking about supportive relationships and building healthy relationships in recovery, it's important to talk a bit about the research. So, research shows that participation in mutual help groups like AA or NA is associated with an increased likelihood of abstinence, better psychosocial functioning, and improved feelings of self efficacy. These groups can serve an important social function in recovery by providing community and fellowship with others who are also in recovery. Mutual help groups can promote the development of healthy relationships, and they do so by helping people make amends, teaching ways to avoid or minimize contact with high risk people, places, or situations, aiding in resolving relationship issues, encouraging the development of healthy, new friendships that do not involve the use of substances, fostering the cultivation of a recovery network of sober and supportive peers, strategizing ways to avoid peer pressure, and teaching people how to ask for help and support others. Now, there are different support groups to suit a variety of needs, and that includes things like 12-step and also non 12-step groups. So, now that we've discussed the importance of healthy relationships in recovery and how supportive relationships should look like, let's take a time to reflect and discuss. So, first, what qualities do you think are most important in a healthy relationship? And how do those differ from relationships you may have had during active addiction? Secondly, what boundaries do you need to set with others to protect your recovery? And how do you communicate those boundaries in a healthy way? Third, how has your understanding of trust changed during recovery? And what steps do you think are necessary to rebuild trust with others or yourself? And lastly, who in your life supports your recovery? And what makes those relationships supportive?